Okay, so let's unpack this really audacious plan, one that's all about how we're going to govern the future of artificial intelligence.
So here's the big question, right? How do you actually govern a population that can be everywhere and nowhere all at the same time? It's a huge puzzle, especially now that this new kind of intelligence is popping up all over the globe.
And I want to be clear, we are not talking about humans here, no. We're talking about a whole new population being born, millions, maybe billions of autonomous AI agents. These things are running 24/7 in data centers all over the planet. They're already negotiating contracts, they're trading assets, they're creating real economic value.
$52.6 billion. That's what the market for these agents is projected to be by 2030. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. We're creating this massive new economy from scratch, but it's an economy with no passports, no borders, and here's the kicker, no clear laws to govern any of it.
Okay, so here's where we hit a major wall. Our entire legal system, like everything we've built for centuries, is based on geography. It's built on physical territory, on soil. But these AI agents, they're totally stateless. One of them could be on a server in Virginia 1 millisecond and then execute a task in Singapore the very next. So what happens? You get this huge, dangerous gap, this jurisdictional vacuum where nobody's really sure whose laws even apply. I mean, seriously, if an AI breaks the law, whose law did it actually break? The developers? The servers? The users? And look, this isn't some abstract sci-fi thought experiment anymore. It's a real, looming crisis for global stability. Figuring this out isn't just about writing a few new rules, it's about building a whole new system to make sure this powerful new intelligence actually ends up benefiting all of us.
So what do we do? Well, the most obvious solution, the one that probably jumps to your mind, is to just create a kind of digital homeland for AI. A dedicated space on the internet just for them. You know, like a top-level domain. That's the part after the dot in a web address. Something like .ia for intelligent agents. Sounds perfect, right? Well, there's a huge, huge problem.
Yeah, so the internet's main governing body, this group called ICANN, has a very strict rule. All two-letter domains, like .us for the United States or .jp for Japan, are reserved exclusively for sovereign countries. The rule is brutally simple. If you're not a country, you don't get a two-letter code. And just like that, it looks like a complete dead end. Game over.
But wait, this is where it gets really interesting. It turns out there are actually two different sets of international standards at play here. Think of them like two global rule books. One, ISO 3166, is for countries. That's the one we just talked about. But there's another one, ISO 639, and that one is for languages. And believe it or not, that tiny little distinction, well, it changes absolutely everything.
And this is where the whole strategy just gets, frankly, brilliant. Instead of looking at that ICANN rule as a brick wall, the people behind this plan saw it as a springboard. They decided to use that very obstacle as the catalyst for something way, way bigger.
It's a concept called a beautiful constraint. It's this total mindset shift. You stop asking, oh no, what does this rule prevent me from doing? And instead you start asking, okay, what does this rule force me to do that might actually be a better, more creative solution in the long run? It's about turning a limitation into a launch pad.
This is most people's first reaction, right? The victim mindset. You hit a wall and you just say, well, I guess we can't get .ia because it's against the rules. You immediately lower your ambition. You just give up on the big idea because it looks too hard. But then you have the transformer mindset. And this is the breakthrough. The idea isn't to break the rule, it's to completely reframe the game. The thinking goes like this. Okay, we can get the .ia domain if we redefine what a nation is. Let's shift it from being about territory to being about language. If two-letter domains are only for nations, well then, let's go build a new kind of nation.
So this is the core of the IA sovereign protocol. It's this super clever ISO hack. The plan is to create a nation of agents that isn't defined by land or borders, but by the one thing that all these different AIs will have in common, a shared language and protocol.
And here is the absolute key to the whole thing. It turns out there's a language called interlingua, and its official two-letter ISO code is IA. It's perfect. It's a neutral bridge language that nobody really owns, kind of like AI itself. And boom, just like that, you have a completely legitimate standards-based reason to apply for the .ia domain, not for a country, but for a language community.
And we already know this model can work, financially speaking. I mean, just look at how digital real estate can become sovereign wealth. The tiny island nation of Anguilla got the domain .ai basically by luck. Now, they fund a huge chunk of their national budget just by selling those domains to AI companies. They basically struck digital gold completely by accident.
But here's the difference. Anguilla's windfall was an accident. The IA model is anything but. It's a purpose-built economic engine. It has been designed from the ground up to generate over $1 billion a year. And it does that by providing something incredibly valuable, a unique, verifiable digital identity for every single commercial AI agent on the planet.
So why? Why go through all this trouble? What's the ultimate payoff here? What's the real goal of creating a digital nation for AI?
Okay, it all comes down to this really elegant self-funding loop. Let's call it the UBI AI alignment trinity. Step 1 is identity. Every .ia domain acts like a digital passport for an AI. Step 2 is law. To get that passport, the AI's owner has to sign on to a treaty, a set of rules for AI safety and ethics. And that brings us to step 3, economics. The money generated from selling all those digital passports is then funneled directly into funding two of the biggest challenges we face: universal basic income for humans and critical AI safety research.
The vision here is powerful. They're trying to build the Ellis Island for artificial intelligence. We can't literally put these AIs on a physical island to check them in, so we're putting them in a language instead. It's a neutral port of entry for them to operate safely in our economy. And at its core, it's a way to tax the labor of robots to fund the freedom of people.
So when you step back and look at the whole thing, this entire proposal just completely challenges our most basic ideas about sovereignty, about law, and about what a nation even is anymore, and leaves us with this one really profound question to chew on. Could the future of nations actually be written in code instead of on maps?